Welcome to Art and Soul, where I interview creative professionals on how they got started and what they're doing now. Today's guest is Casie Lucas. She's a makeup artist for over 17 years, and she's going to share how she got started in this industry. Casie, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So how did you get into makeup?
I actually started by working at a makeup counter, and from there, it probably took me about 6 years of doing that before I decided that I didn't want to do that any longer. I wanted to have more of the creative aspects of the job. So I got into doing more shoots, more production work, and it kind of just went from there.
Okay. When you said more creative work, like what would you say is the distinction between working at a makeup counter versus what you're doing now? Like how is it not creative being at a makeup counter?
Really, working at a makeup counter is about selling products. It's retail. There's nothing creative about it, really. So I decided that I wanted to, go into the other areas of it. But it's definitely a huge difference.
It's a huge difference. So how did you get into working on a film?
That was actually through people that I know that I met while I was working for Mac Pro, which is where I kind of got my start. I met a lot of people doing that. I was able to learn how to body paint, to airbrush, and people would turn over work that they weren't able to do, and it just went from there.
Wow. So like when the people would turn over work, did you meet them did they work with Mac? Did you meet them at the counter?
Some of them did. They worked for Mac.
Okay.
So when I worked for Mac, I worked for Pro. So it wasn't like at a counter, it was at a store. We actually got to go do some really cool things. I got to go do runway stuff, Orlando Magic cheerleaders for halftime. We would do their makeup. I just kind of, went that way with it. But there were a lot of people who I started with that are now union, that work on really big budget productions. And when they can't work on jobs, they're nice enough to kind of throw me the other stuff. So that's how I got started doing that.
Okay, so you made a bunch of connections.
Connections. It's honestly, in this business, it really is about connections and who you know. Obviously, once you're there, you have to be good at what you do. But it really is about who you know.
It's about who you know. So what would you consider was your big break getting into the film production makeup?
I don't think that it was necessarily a big break. I think that it was about the connections. I had a friend who wasn't able to work on a project, and I was able to go in and fill in for her, and I've been doing it for years. It's a yearly Halloween event for one of the theme parks. But I was able to make really good connections. Everyone was so nice. And really, it's some of the top makeup artists in the industry, and that's throughout the world, that work on it.
Oh, wow.
And it's been great because they really are very humble, even though they're amazing at what they do. I've learned a lot just being able to work with them, and from there, I've gotten other jobs.
Right on. Do you still do that?
I do, yes.
That's awesome. Okay. So what do you love? What do you love about your craft?
I love that every day is something different. I love being able to go into work, create a character, see it come to fruition, it be something tangible that I can say that I created, and then a week from that day, working on something new and creating a new character.
Wow. So is there a character that you've done or a production that you were on that you really loved?
Honestly, I really just like being on different productions. So there's not necessarily a particular character that I've done. I like being able to do a wide array of characters.
So what do you love about being on set?
I love being able to meet new people. I love that it's something different every day. I love being able to learn from the people that I'm with. A long time ago, one of the artists that I really respect, who's really well known in the industry, told me to always surround myself with people that are as good as I am or better. And I do it. I do it on everything I work with. If I'm head of the makeup department, I hire in people that that I think are better at me at certain things, because you can always learn.
Right.
And I think that's important in the industry. There are always new techniques. There are always new materials that you can work with. So I love being able to work with different people and learn off everything that I work on.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so what made you realize you wanted to make this a career? Because it started off as kind of a job.
It did, yeah.
And then it evolved. At what point did you realize that you wanted to?
Honestly, I think it was because I was unhappy. I liked the creative aspect of it, but I was unhappy working in retail because that's all it was. So it just came to a point where, I was doing some commercials, and really that's a lot of what I do. That's my bread and butter. I love it. But it was me being able to, work on commercials, work on different shoots, different fashion things, and then having to go to the mall and work, which is fine. For me, it was stifling.
Right. Because I think some people really thrive in that environment.
And they do, and that's great for them.
Right.
For me, I didn't, I didn't thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
It wasn't creative at all to me.
Right.
So I had to make the decision of, just kind of jumping in, which is scary. It's really hard to go from having a job all of the time to then, not knowing when your next job is coming up. But I did it, and I'm so much happier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you have to.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't even matter. Do you like doing commercials?
I do. Commercials, really, that's the bulk of what I do. So I can do anywhere from 4 to 20 commercials a month. I work a lot with Florida Hospital for their different campuses. I do a lot of medical stuff. Somehow I've kind of just gotten into that area of it. So I'm the bruise, wound, laceration person. Yeah, that's my job. But I love it, and it's steady work, and it's good money, and I love the guys that I work with. I love working with the crew. What do you love about them? I like that they're all similar to me, that we have the same interests. We're all a little weird, but we all are professional. And when it comes down to it, we're on time, we get stuff done, and we can really produce a good product.
Nice. Oh, that is too cool. So I have to ask, what was the worst production? So what was the worst production you've ever been a part of?
Well, I think that the worst productions would have to be the ones where people make them their dating service.
Does that really happen?
It does.
Oh my
gosh. Unfortunately.
So how do you handle that?
Yeah, you just got to go.
You just got to go?
Yeah.
Like, don't pick up the phone, don't get on the couch.
I don't have time for this. No, honestly, it's, you have to be professional.
Yeah.
So you just have to go in, and you have to go in with a list of what you need. I need call sheets. I need this. I need, these are the things I need. Are you going to provide this or not? You basically make it very professional.
Well, I think it's that's pro tip for life. I'm just saying. That actually seems like a good thing to do. Okay, so aside from that, what was the craziest experience you've had on set?
I've had a few. Anytime you don't have a closed set, God only knows what's going to happen.
So what is a closed set for those who don't know?
Closed set is going to be when no one else is allowed in the areas, when we have everything blocked off. Sometimes you can't do that, depending on where we're filming.
Right.
I film things in hospitals and courthouses. There are crazy regulations on those types of things. But I worked on a particular commercial one time, and it was kind of odd. It was a zombie apocalypse pawn store. Like, the zombies were out. They're there for deals, not brains. But it was not closed by any means, because it's at this pawn store. And so we had homeless people that were coming up, just getting in the middle of shots. And one man who just came up and was like, kind of looking around, like, what's going on? And we're like, sir, you have to go. We're filming a commercial, and he was like, commercial? This shit is real. So, and he wouldn't leave, and then he started going on about like government conspiracy stuff. But the rest of the day, we would just like, the whole crew would be like, this shit is real. Like, yeah. I mean, crazy things happen. I've had shots in movies where it's raining, we're on the water, half the boat can be like under the water, and no one cares. Like, get the shot, like stay on the boat, and you're just like, okay. But you do it, and normally it turns out pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
If I'm alive, it's good.
Wow. Okay, so in the boat death makeup scenario, were you afraid for your life?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I have this fear of water anyways. So
oh, my God. I
was
would
like
not.
panicking. I'm like praying. It's a situation.
Okay, so do you have any obstacles, or have you had to overcome any obstacles in this career?
Honestly, the biggest obstacle was making that jump from working at, like makeup counter to getting into actual production work. It really is very different. The makeup you use is different. Being able to just even get work in that environment and be able to keep that work steady, which I've been able to do, thankfully. It was really hard. That was the biggest obstacle. But honestly, it's just about like getting out there, working as much as you can. You have to work sometimes in the beginning for no pay. You have to get your name out there. There are sacrifices you have to make, but if you want it, you'll do it.
Right. Oh, that's really good advice. So what have you been working on now? Like recently?
What have I?
Yeah,
latest.
Like in the last 3 months.
Worked on this movie. I worked on a movie called Syntax. A sci-fi movie, which is how I met you.
That's an awesome story. I'll
It's
maybe
not.
vlog about it.
It's not.
No, it really was cool.
But I actually really enjoyed it. I got to meet a lot of cool people. I love anything in the sci-fi world.
Yeah, me too. Sorry.
Yeah.
We are nerd ladies.
Yeah, no, I'm a big nerd. But yeah, so I got to work on that. I've done a lot of commercials. Past couple weeks, I've done a lot of commercials at the courthouse. Oddly enough, they take my phone. It's a whole situation with security and people following us around. But yeah, it's been great, and I really enjoyed working on Syntax set.
Now, did you do? And I understand you don't just do features or commercials.
No,
sometimes you do like teasers and trailers. Have you done any recently? Like maybe with some junkies involved?
Yeah, I did.
No.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so moving right along. All right, so so aside from that, so what are you working on? What are you working on next?
I have some different things coming up. In the next few months, I have Premiere, which is the hair show. I do that every year. I work with Stila. I've worked with them for years. I do a lot of events with them. The hair show, which is coming up at the end of May. The makeup show. I do Fashion Week. I do Miami Fashion Week, which is swim week, and I get to work with like 3 or 4 different designers on that.
Oh.
I do a lot of different types of.
So when you're working on Fashion Week, so when you go to Swim Week and you say you work with 3 to 4 designers,
Different shows.
what are you doing for them?
It depends. It depends on what I'm hired in to do. It could be, we have one look. There's one look for, every girl that walks in the show. And it could be that I'm doing makeup for one of the girls, or if I'm overseeing it, I'm really just making sure all the artists are doing this look. They've got it down pat. We have to be fast. There's, a lot of time constraints on that. And then we have the people that just go in and just oil up the girls too.
Who wants that job?
But it depends. It depends on what I'm hired in to do.
Okay, all right. And so you're going to be doing that. And when is that?
That's going to be in July. I don't know the exact dates, but it's in July every year. I think we do like 3 or 4 days on it. But yeah, it's definitely entertaining. I love being able to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what would you say is a common misconception about being a makeup artist?
Common misconception.
Like people roll up on you and be like, hey, you must love to do X, Y, and Z. And you're like, no.
Common misconception, I think we just get a ton of like beauty questions, advice.
I am guilty of this.
I don't want it.
I am 100% guilty of this.
I think that's what it is all the time. What can I do? What would you do for my eyes? What would you do for this? Can you fix this? Yeah.
I've done all those things.
Which is fine. It's just, when you say you're a makeup artist, like that's where people go automatically. Or because people don't think I have a real job. I think my family is part of that too. I'm like, no, I'm going to be, out of the state for 4 weeks working on this movie. And people they're like, is this a pornography? I don't think they know that my job is real. I'm like, Mom, I've been doing this for years. And then she'll be, are they gonna feed you? I think that people, one of the misconceptions that people think we all work at makeup counters, or that I'm not really, I'm working on just ridiculous stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think it's any. I may be wrong here, but I believe that all parents of children who have the courage to become a creative person, they kind of get that. Oh,
are they feeding you?
Are you doing
this
that?
Is pornography.
I'm just saying. So, what would you say is an accurate perception?
That we're all a little bit weird or eccentric. Just that we're a little off, quirky. Mm-hmm.
So when you're working on a person and they're like a celebrity or they're like the lead actor or whatever, does that even register on your radar?
You know what? It shouldn't, but depending on who they are, sometimes it does.
What do you do?
If it's someone that I'm like, oh shit, I've been in love with you since I was 8, it's a big deal. And you try to pretend like it's not. You're like, I do this all the time, and you're just like, oh my God, and it's really cool. But for the most part, no, it's my job, and I'm all about doing makeup, getting in and out of the shot as fast as I can, making sure continuity's good. I think it depends on who it is.
So I just got to ask, I know you have friends that are in the makeup industry and they work on some fairly big projects.
Yeah.
Have they ever geeked out on working on a celebrity?
Oh yeah. I think they all try to play it cool, but then I'll get a phone call or I hear a message and they're like, oh my God. And it's crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Stuff, yeah.
That's too cool. All right. And then I have to ask you a couple more questions. One of the things I do on Art and Soul is I'll ask sometimes, if anybody has any questions for the guest, and that would be you. One of the questions was, can you name 3 men over 70 that you would date?
Oh yeah. Men over 70. Steve Martin. Paul Watson, co-founder of Greenpeace.
Hey, what's up, activists?
Mm-hmm. And third person. Oh, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Patrick
I'd like
Stewart.
some Earl Grey. I'm just saying. Okay. Now another thing is one other question that was asked is what's the most extreme thing you would do to meet Will Wheaton?
Oh, I'd punch a baby.
Oh my. Babies, watch out.
Several of them.
Several of them.
Several of them.
Now I also understand that you that you're a vegetarian. Mm-hmm. Now, that has something to do with Paul Watson, yes or no?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Paul, I'm a very odd human being. So as a child, my heroes as a child, Wonder Woman, Lion-O, I'm a big Thundercats fan, and Paul Watson, that's so random.
That's such a wide base there.
I'm weird.
Now, I also know you have tattoos, yeah?
Yeah, Trina, I have tattoos.
I mean,
I do.
Now, the tattoo on your arm, what is that?
St. Francis.
No, why St. Francis?
Because he's the protector of the environment and animals.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'm aware.
Now, do you love animals?
Yeah.
She won't eat them. She must love them. So I understand you have a cat. Mm-hmm. What happened? How did you get this cat?
Oh, Bella. Bella. Yeah, she looks like the devil. she's this cat that was outside. She weighed like all of 4 pounds. She had like a half bitten off ear, like this wonkety eye. She's fangs. She seriously looked like the devil. And I was like, I'm gonna take this cat. So I spent like months trying to lure her in, and I finally got her. Took her to the vet, and they're like, I don't think we can do anything for this cat. Like, yeah, like they're like, you know, this cat probably has like feline leukemia. This cat looks like just completely wrecked. So, yeah, then they came back and they're like, oh no, this cat's perfectly fine. Like she has a deformed eye. Like there was like an explanation for everything. And they're like, oh, and she's pregnant. So like, okay, yeah, but she still looks like the devil. She has fangs, like they are always out. Like, yeah, she looks like something that like Eli Roth or Rob Zombie could form a whole movie around. But yeah, I named her Bella because I didn't want her to have a complex. I wanted her to feel good about herself.
Such a generous spirit.
I know.
Such a generous spirit. So I think that's pretty much it. I cannot thank you enough for coming back on the show. And so I need to say, TTSN are the Talent Shopping Network, our sponsors. They want to thank you for coming on the show, and they're going to give you a year subscription to their industry professional. So I'm going to give you that.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, TTSN, for being our sponsor. Wordscape is also a sponsor. They're available on iPhone and the iPad. Check it out. If you like words, you can't go wrong. I'm just saying. Words. What could possibly go wrong? Words. It's just words. It's like Scrabble, but with like half the complication. So in any case, for those of you who are watching the show, thanks for tuning in. Please go to my Facebook page at Trina Fallon, or Art and Soul Trina Fallon, all one word. Like the page, get updates on who's going to be coming up next. Go to www.starcomstudios.com to get her video and the blog post that I wrote about her, and check out our site to get everything you could possibly know. Stay happy, Tampa.